Okay, next thing up, I'm not quite sure, you know, this is a case of, we can't talk simultaneously, because they're not gonna hear anything. And you need to talk, and I need to, you know, talk, and part of what I could say could be like in reply to yours, or, you know, let me spit out at least some of it, and we'll work our way through it.
Perfect.
Okay? So, Casey Schweitz is selling on a Pansy Landing Road, her property, and, I've heard both from the Baileys who are here and from Casey about a property line dispute on the south edge of the property.
Of her property.
South edge of Casey's property, the north edge of the Bailey's property.
Correct.
Excuse me, Bob. It
Pardon?
is, just to correct you, it is not a property line dispute.
No, not now, it was in the beginning.
Correct, so there's no property line dispute.
No, I was getting there.
Oh,
I was starting at the beginning.
okay.
So, anyway, any number of things, which is just, you know, the meeting's long enough as it is, without a bunch of essentially, from the township's business, irrelevant information, in my opinion, about Casey offered this, and the Baileys offered that, and the back and the forth. You know, the town does not get involved in property line disputes. It's up to abutting properties who are arguing over property line to hire a surveyor as their solution. You know, so, you know, that's really never any mind whether an easement or any other document was offered or not offered. So eventually a surveyor was hired, and it was found that Casey's pole shed is, give or take, 7 or 8 feet approximately on her own property. So it is not encroaching on the Bailey's property. As an addition to the pole shed, my understanding is there was also the issue of the driveway that served the shed from the Pansy Road.
Excuse me, Bob.
Pardon?
Excuse me.
Let her talk for a second, go ahead.
May I interject something?
Sure.
Like, all this is like sort of private business between Casey and I?
Right, yeah, I'm just trying.
Okay, but you know, it doesn't, again, to just cut to the chase and not use
Right.
up everybody's time.
Okay, well.
So what the problem is right now is that the township or the town board or whoever does this has, excuse me, established ordinances, statutes, whatever you call them in a small town, and they're to be, that's what they are. And like you said earlier, they're made for everybody's protection, and people vote on them, and this is what they are. Those are the ordinances.
Right.
And it's not up to anybody on this town board or anybody else to use their discretion if they think it's not a problem or not. If, in this case, Casey Schweitz, her property setback is in violation of the ordinance, that is the fact. It doesn't matter what anybody here thinks.
Okay, so let me bring them up to date here. So Casey in 2015 got an application to put up this pole shed.
Just wait a minute, then.
The,
Go ahead, Bob, keep going.
I'm sorry.
For this, it was called a secondary structure under our ordinance, you know, a house, a dwelling, what people live in. It's a primary structure, garages, sheds, saunas, gazebos are an accessory or secondary structure. We have really no regulations on the foundation for a secondary structure. A house has to have a good foundation. A shed, you can build a shed in a swamp if you want. Our ordinance doesn't care. In administering the building permit, we have a number of setbacks. There's, you know, 3 that come up more often than anything else. One is to be 50 feet back from the center of the road. One is to be 100 feet back from the ordinary high water line of the river. And the third is to be 50 feet back from the side yard. You
What
know,
does that
on the other property lines all the way around, which is intended not to have people encroach other people's property.
Well, excuse me, where's my variance then?
What, it's,
I've been
David,
asking for
David, let
25
us-
years.
Dave, can we
Dave,
just?
let us finish
can we
this,
just
please.
finish
We've
this
never had a
up?
variance
Wait a minute.
application forever in the history of this township.
David, just let us finish this,
So
please.
anyway,
Cause this is gonna all tie together.
the road setback I can administer because I can go out in the middle of a road and with an accuracy of say 1 foot or 1 inch or some minor amount. I can pretty much determine where the center of a road is and lay down the beginning of my tape measure there and measure off 50 feet. Okay, it's a doable thing. Okay, from the river, you determine where the high water line is, and again, a starting point for a tape measure, and measure back 100 feet from the ordinary high water line. Give or take an accuracy of, say, 1 foot or 6 inches or whatever. In regard to the side yards, I don't know the exact number, let's call it 98% of people's property is not surveyed.
Wait a minute, excuse me,
So,
Bob.
Let's stop right there for a second and let us speak now.
No, I need to finish what I'm
Okay,
talking
okay.
about. I need to finish what I'm talking about. So we have had, for 40 years in our ordinance, this setback from a side yard. It's just, it's kind of a minor thing, but for some reason in a shoreland area, it's 20 feet rather than 50 feet. So, the river's not involved with this property. The Casey Builder building, I went out there, and from the land where she was, and she has what's called a proportional property description. So you have, there's 5,280 feet in a perfect mile, of 40 is 1320, half of that is 660. So the way in Casey's land, if this was a square quarter mile on each edge, a half of that and then half of that would be 10 acres off of 40 acres. So it's a square 10 acres. So it's like the east half of the north half of whatever 40. Okay, side yard lines are, because there's no survey, there's no certain point to start from. I cannot measure a side yard setback. It's an impossible task. So, truth be told, we have something in our ordinance that is irrelevant. And if you remember, in July, I think it was, I asked the board to let the planning commission start studying rewriting the ordinance. This is one of the things, and there's some other repercussions that I need to talk to you about along the lines of this same issue. So anyway, Casey's building, from what seemed to be the property usage at the time, there being no survey at the time, I approved her building permit, having never measured the side yard setback.
Okay.
And now,
Quick, just wait, please.
8 years later, the land's been surveyed, and lo and behold, we know for a certainty that the building is 7 or 8 feet back from the property line. So Connie called me the other day, she'd asked what setbacks were, some questions about the ordinance. As I understand the Bailey's position, they want us to come back and make Casey move her shed 43 feet more
Bob,
onto her own property.
That's totally
So that
incorrect.
it meets the setback that was in effect at the time. And I told her I would not do that because there was no way to enforce that number at the time. And that if the Baileys wanted to appeal my decision as zoning administrator, I suggested they come to a town board meeting.
Okay, Bob, excuse
Stop
me.
for a second, will you?
We never
Never in our life wanted her to move that building. You
And
can
that
talk to our
never
neighbors,
came
we've told them that.
Between you and I.
You told me that straight on the phone. You
That-
said, I want that building 50 feet back from the line as it should have been when it was built.
Bob,
Tell me.
I never said those words.
Well, then I heard a hallucination over the
You
telephone.
must have heard it, because we've told all our neighbors on the road, there's no way in God's green earth we'd have that woman move that building.
Okay,
That's not what we want,
then
Bob.
I misheard.
Then you misheard.
Okay,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Go forward then.
So then what?
Okay, can I talk?
Yeah, you can, yes,
All
go
right.
ahead.
So the current situation is that there is an ordinance that says it's either, you originally told me 20 feet, and I think you corrected to 50 feet setback from, and you're saying side yard, but I understand that's a property line?
Yeah, not
So-
the frontage on the road, but the side.
Right. So the setback that you're talking about, a side yard, is the property line. So our property line, Casey's property line, her building is totally on her property, which we were overjoyed to find out after we paid for the survey so that she could put her house for sale. So anyway, so the property line didn't go through her building.
Which we thought it did originally, but go ahead, Connie.
And part of her driveway was on our property, and this building is within 8 feet on one end and 12 or 15 on the other end. And well, that's when I called you and asked you what the setback is. You originally said 20 feet, you said it was 50 feet. So she is 100% in violation of the ordinance. That is just cut and dry. She is in violation.
We don't want the building
Just-
moved.
can I finish
Yes,
this?
you can, go ahead.
Okay,
What
so,
is it that you want then?
all right,
For survey money would be nice, back to
okay,
her.
just hold on. I let the real estate person that's selling Casey's property know that Casey's in violation of this setback ordinance. So the realtor called you, and I'm sorry, I can't find the text, the email, his name, whatever. I can find it if I need to.
Tanner McGrath.
There we go. Okay, so he called you, talked to you about this setback and this cut and dried violation of the setback ordinance. And he said that you said, which I know that's hearsay.
Yeah.
He said that you said, that doesn't matter to us, we don't care. So Tanner, the realtor, writes in his, I think it was either a text or an email, which again, I can recover it somewhere, that, so since there's no problem with this, we will go ahead with the sale of this property. And then I called him instead of texting, and I says, but there is a problem. And he said, Bob said, that you don't have a problem with it. And so of course I responded, my husband and I, who own the property that Casey's in violation of, have a problem with it. So
There's a problem.
he thinks that since you on the town board don't have a problem with enforcing your own ordinances, then it's okay for her to sell this property and be in violation. So what has happened is, you're not standing behind your own ordinance.
Makes sense.
Just like what you just said about this straight line septic and this post in the road, you laid it all out there and said, we have ordinances, we have reasons for ordinances. And yet when I call on a fact-finding mission to find out what the ordinance is, you totally blew it off to the realtor and says, that's not a problem. Go ahead and sell the place. It is a problem.
I don't think it's a problem myself.
It doesn't matter what you
It
think.
doesn't.
Well, good, that's fine.
Right, it doesn't matter.
We're talking about
Just
your
a second.
ordinance.
Just a
I'm
second.
sorry, I shouldn't have brought it in. Go ahead.
Bob, in this situation, it doesn't matter what your opinion is. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what any of you think. You don't have any discretion. You've already
So what is it you
applied.
want the board to do?
I need the board to, or the zoning and planning officer, to let the realtor know that, yes, Casey Schweitz's building is in violation of a 50-foot setback. The violation is 8 feet on one side and 15 feet on another side.
So then in order to correct that, she would need to,
She would need to come to some kind of agreement
With
that-
us.
with us, so that we can resolve the problem.
but the problem isn't with you, it's with the ordinance. Why should you make an agreement?
What do you
with
mean it's the problem with us? It's our property. We own the property.
She's not on your property.
You're
Bob,
in violation of
it's
the ordinance.
setback. There's a setback
Well, the
ordinance.
setback is totally unenforceable.
Then why the hell do you have them then?
That's a good question. Why do we have it? Because
Okay,
it
just
was.
don't even start.
You had to say
Let-
that to say
Because it only works for him.
You guys, just let me
Wait,
finish
wait.
this. Bob, it's an ordinance. We're
Right.
all supposed to be in compliant with the ordinances,
Right.
that's why we make them.
Right.
She's not compliant.
But is that going to affect your property?
It affects, if I wanna build next to hers, the snow coming off of her roof,
But you still need to be 50 feet back.
Exactly.
But why
should
would I
she
build
follow the
50
rules if
feet?
she doesn't have to?
why would
It's
I
up to-
build?
If she wants to put it there so the snow runs off, I guess that would
But
be.
what I'm,
Here, let me, can I, not to put this on just quickly, where this is going then is, and Burnett County has this, in order for anybody to simply build a doghouse, they're gonna have to have their property surveyed. Or,
baloney.
we just don't have side yard setbacks at all anymore.
Point is,
May I, yes, go ahead, I mean, then,
it was her responsibility in the very first,
I
wait a
signed
minute,
off. Go ahead.
Wait.
She did.
wait. It was her responsibility in 2015, and we were living there at the time also, it was her responsibility to know where the goddamn line is. She never came to us and said, oh, I think the line is here, or I think the line is there. It's her responsibility. And get back to ordinances, these police officers, they have ordinances in cities that they work, and if somebody violates them, they arrest or whatever. They don't go, well, I don't believe that ordinance, that's bullshit, that's their ordinance. They go by it. You have an ordinance? Go by it.
and it has to apply equally to everyone.
So
Right.
you're saying that we
Amen.
should make her move the shed?
it's not
Amen.
over shit, it's maybe ask for a variance, maybe pay half their bill or
But that's
whatever.
not, that's between Casey and us.
Yes.
But this is what we're trying to get at, okay?
This-
What they're trying to get at is you guys are going after every single person around your ordinance, but yet you're not gonna enforce one that's simple. This is a simple one, it's an easy thing, but you're going through courts,
You're
you're spending the
picking and
money of
choosing.
our money, all the taxes, you're blowing the money, and you guys are saying, we're gonna enforce this, but we're not enforcing that.
As my
We're not
wife-
gonna enforce that, but we'll enforce this.
As my wife stated,
People look at stuff and they realize it's unfair.
there needs to be
Be
a call.
fair.
Excuse me, Jen, I'm sorry. There needs to be a call to that real estate outfit and talk to that realtor and say, the same thing we told them. Somebody needs to come and say, you are in violation of the setback. And there is a problem here with the Baileys on that setback. We will take it from there. That's what has to be done.
Let me just answer Bob's question. And Jan, and your question, which, I don't know why we get into this argumentative exchange, because it's not about that, it's about facts. And you inserted, well, what do you want us to do? Which is, it's kind of an ugly way to put things, because I'm trying to reach a resolution. What I would like the town board to do, and the zoning and planning person to do, is have a copy of the ordinance with the Arna Town, you must have a letterhead, and just say, hey, here's our ordinance, this is from Arna Township, and if you would give that to me, I will present it to the realtor. All I want is a copy of it on the letterhead, and I will give that to the realtor. And then he will figure it out. Oh, she is in violation of the ordinance, because this is the ordinance. It doesn't matter if any of you like the ordinance or think, well, that's way back in the woods, that doesn't matter. Well, it matters to us, and it's an ordinance, and it's plain and simple, she's in violation of it. And what we want done from there, whether it's pay for the survey that we freed up her land to sell with, or pay us $5,000 for all her trouble, or move her building, that's nobody's business but ours. All we want to do is present her and the realtor and potential buyers with the facts. And the facts
Protection.
is, pardon me?
Protection.
No, just so we.
The fact is, she's in violation of an ordinance that you folks and the people of Arna Township voted on, agreed on, wrote down, and it's in writing, and there we go.
You can't just abolish a thing because it's an inconvenience now.
Well, excuse me,
Because you
Chris,
should do it with
can I just, I'm almost done. So, you talked about, and you talked to me on the phone about this. Well, these, these don't really apply, we don't need to do this, and I told you, I said, in 2023, this is the ordinance on record. And you talked about getting things changed in January. Fine, do whatever you want, but in 2023, this is what that ordinance said. And I would like that in writing so I can present it to Casey, the realtor, and whoever else. Hopefully, we don't have to pay an attorney any more money. I just want them to know the facts. And as far as the survey goes, I told you on the phone. As soon as we found out where that line was, Craig and I paid $1,000 for the survey, or $900 or whatever it was, plus the attorney's fees. And, I mean, that doesn't even matter. The first thing Casey said when this came into dispute was, oh, well, Bob gave me the permit. She threw you under the bus, Bob. It wasn't up to you, and as far as the surveys go, no.
What
You
was it
took-
up to me?
Up to you to figure out where the land was. It was up to her. She's trying to lay the blame on you for telling her you can build there, when she didn't know. And you didn't know, you would think she'd know where her property line is, so you said, yeah, here's the permit. She made a big mistake. It was her responsibility. The building got built, it's in violation of the ordinance, and that's all.
Okay, there's just one more problem. Is that I approved her permit. So if the mistake, she didn't make the mistake, then you could say I did.
No, you did it in good faith. You approved the permit, and I don't know what the regulations were at the
Well,
time.
I
or
don't
what-
see how we can go back 8 years after the fact and say, well, we approved it, and you have my signature on a piece of paper that
But
says
it's-
it's good to go, but now we changed our mind because the Bailey's want,
Bob, it's totally
to
irrelevant.
enforce a section, one thing, you talk about not enforcing the ordinance, I take some umbrage with that, because I enforce the ordinance very, very well. I don't go willy-nilly. You're implying that I enforce this but not that, but yes, that's baloney.
It may be baloney, but
That's
it's what
what's
you,
going on here.
it's
Bob.
what you
this
said.
is-
It's what you told
it's
my
a
wife over the
pragmatic
phone.
thing. You cannot enforce the side yard setback. I approved it. Now the town board is in charge, and they can decide whatever, to be done. If they want me to write a letter, I will write a letter. But I don't see how you can go back 8 years after the fact and say there's a problem. There's not a problem.
There is a problem.
The problem
There's
is,
a statute of limitations.
what is it?
What is that, Bob?
I don't know.
What is that? You
Here
know
we
everything
go.
else down
Craig,
tonight.
let's
What
not
is
get
it?
into
No,
an
I'm
argument
not.
with
I'm just
everybody
asking,
else.
what is it?
I have no idea what it is.
The thing
Then you
is,
don't-
There could be a statute.
no, that's not what you just said.
No, it's
You
not.
said there is
Do
a
you
statute.
speak with precision every word that comes out of your mouth? Give me a
Oh,
break.
yeah, I do. I do.
Good for you.
Well, you know by law that it was Miss Weitz's obligation to pay for that survey. You owe them
No,
$1,000.
they
You are
did.
the zoning administrator. You owe them $1,000.
No,
You
you
can write a
don't.
check to them.
No, you don't.
But the-
That's not the point.
Well, then donate it to me.
It needs to be,
The answer comes from them, not from me.
Right.
All right, then stop, Craig.
no, I'm just saying.
What are we gonna get, how are we gonna resolve this? We're not trying to get the zoning person, Bob Brewster, or anybody on the
No.
town board in any kind of trouble.
No.
I just want it put in writings on your letterhead so I can present it and prove that this building is in violation of the setback. I don't care whose fault it is, I don't care, it's in violation. And it needs to be dealt
And
with.
that's what we need, and we are gonna deal, not anymore, other than what my wife just said with the board, we are dealing it after that.
Okay, I got something to say. First off, why do you need a board approval to get a copy of an ordinance?
Well, maybe I don't need it, I'd like a copy of the ordinance.
Well,
May I
that's
have
what you
that?
should be asking for.
May I have a copy of the ordinance?
Sure,
Thank you.
it's on the website, you can download it for free.
I have no way to print it.
Why don't you be generous and just give us one?
Damn it, Craig, this is what is going on, you're so argumentative.
I didn't argue about it.
Yes, you all are. I would like a copy of the ordinance. I have no way
I
to
don't have
copy.
any extras with me here, I've got one at home. I just had 3 printed for our new members.
Well, why don't you give her the one you got and you can get the one at home?
Because I got it all marked up.
Well, you can mark the other one.
Okay, I'll get it off the website.
Can I
I'll
say
get it off
something
the
about it?
website, I'll go to the library.
Todd? Go
I
ahead.
don't know,
You
But
wait,
wouldn't Casey be selling a problem?
Yeah.
Casey would be selling a problem in hindsight, that's
Here's
what
the
the
deal,
people
what
buy
it's gonna end up
insurance
is,
for. Property
everybody's
they
gonna
sell
get
it.
sued because there was not the proper responsibility taken and the disclosure made.
What was said back there?
What?
What did you two just, he said something and you said something. I'm trying to hear what was going on.
Todd said they're selling a problem, like selling a house that's not in violation.
Someone else is gonna buy the problem. Yeah, possible.
And then they're gonna find out about it after
Yep.
the sale, and then it's like, oh, well, let's start casting blame. I'm
it's
trying
still
to
a
get
problem.
ahead of that.
Okay, I'm not arguing with you, and I haven't been. This ordinance, it is accessible on the internet, correct? She doesn't have a printer. All right?
Take a picture of it.
Oh,
I'll just go
I
there.
might have a second best thing, if you want it tonight.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get that too.
Yeah, okay, you get that.
I got a couple.
It'll come better from you than me.
so you just want the copy of that one page?
Right, and the second part of the interaction between Bob Brewster and this realtor is that Bob Brewster, when the realtor asked him, is this a problem? I mean, what's the deal? Bob
That's
didn't.
not exactly what I told the realtor.
Okay. Let me just finish my take on he said, she said, everybody said, and this is where we're at. According to the realtor, Bob said, we don't have a problem with that. And the realtor says, perfect, we can sell the house. But what Bob didn't do is say, Arna Township does have an ordinance, and, oh, let me see. Yes, it's clear that she's in violation of the setback. So I think it's the town or the zoning person's responsibility to clarify that with that realtor.
I did, I already told the realtor, all this stuff that you're saying I didn't say, I did say.
All you would have to do is make a copy of that and give it to the realtor.
I talked with him that there's a 50-foot setback.
It's
I also mentioned, and the reason, you've mentioned it a couple times, when, about the 20 feet, that yes, I slipped, I mean,
Right, that's not a
I
problem.
have a brother, Bill, and I remember my mother once, we were in trouble, and she said Bill, when she meant Bob, I mean, people, wrong words come out of people's mouths
I'm not holding that
on
against you.
occasion. The 20 feet is in a shoreland area, the 50 feet, I have no idea why I said 20, I said it wrong the first time I said 20, I meant to say 50, and then I corrected, I informed you
I understand.
later on in the next phone call that I said, Connie, I told you the wrong thing before, is 50, not 20, which is even worse. Because if it was 20, it'd be close, but it's 50, it's way off.
It doesn't
So
matter
anyway,
if it was
so I did talk with Tanner Mickrot about
twice or once.
once, And he called me, and I went through the whole thing, and what I was gonna get here was, I thought I might have it. If you have a copy here, here's where the,
It's a setback, it's like the number.
it's right here at the bottom.
Gotta be in the ordinance, but you gotta.
And that's, actually, the ordinance changed in 2015, and I took the time to go back and read what the 2015 ordinance said.
Yeah, right, I was gonna-
Well, Bob, isn't
Which
one,
it occurred to me, you know, and it also says 50 feet,
Other property lines.
the 2015, but we changed, you know, she's right in there, depending, you know, whether she applied just before or just after we swapped ordinances. It could have been, it's not, but it could have been, you know, two ships passing in the night kind of thing.
All right. But it was in place at the time.
So anyway, what I was looking for, you know, she also applied, I mean, I would agree with you, she needs to know where her lines are. When a person applies, there's a list right there that says you need a bulleted list on the application. You need to have this, 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 and this. So when she applied, she stated this, 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 and this. Her application to me, she promised me when she applied that she would build it 50 feet back. Then I went and approved it
Totally.
because of proportional property descriptions and no way to know where the line is. There is absolutely no way to make that measurement.
Well, you pay for a survey.
Yeah, that's what people do.
The second line from the bottom, all the way to the bottom, second line from the bottom. As I told you, we're in zone B. Here, here.
It goes back.
I need my copy back.
All right, perfect.
No, this is, she's got the 3-hole punch one.
No, there's no holes in here.
Oh, the other one's still
I
in here.
got the original.
So it's
I'm just-
Here.
rural area zone B, that's us.
Mine is 3-hole
We're on here,
punch.
just, okay, Arna Township, other provisions, building setbacks are at least 50 center line about, wait a minute.
Our bill was surveyed in 1914.
That would even make it look better. I would have to do that.
1911. 1911.
1914.
why you do 90 feet,
Bergman had,
Would it,
when he donated all the streets and alleys.
it sounds like since it does say Arna Township on here, would it authenticate it anymore to sign it and date it? Well, I mean, there's no date on here, this could have been 2000.
I could sign it for you. I could. I'll sign it.
We're gonna talk to Carol.
Bob, will you sign the bottom of this and put today's date on it,
I'll
please?
notarize it for you.
Bob, you'll sign that and just put the date on it, so that they know
Well,
that this is.
then, you know, I mean, what's,
Do you have a date of the ordinance in there?
Because
I don't know if my copy does or not.
Just wait a minute.
No, it's just gonna be- Well, where's the front page of the? stuff? I would have a date on it.
Actually, it doesn't, well, it's 2021, ordinance 2021-2. So this one was adopted in 2021.
This one's better.
Like I was saying, at the time, Casey was under the ordinance 2015. We didn't even adopt this one until 2021.
But this one was in place back when the,
Yeah, the other one,
that's
yeah,
very good then.
Just,
Thank you.
is that,
it was the same number, yep.
That wasn't this.
What?
So this is like,
That one number is the
now this
same, the
person is
setback of 50
put on
feet
notice that
is
there's
the
a
same
problem
in
without
both
us
the
having.
2015
What?
and the 2021 versions of the
and
ordinance.
put the town board in today's date, please?
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah.
Janet, can we do one more thing, please? Thank you.
If you just say who you are.
Chairman,
I think you're gonna have to adopt a new ordinance saying that people have to get surveys. If they're gonna build a building, they're gonna have to get a survey.
makes sense.
It's the only way you're gonna be able to solve all
Wanted
this.
to do that.
Just say.
That's what we do to the
I don't
property.
think they even are gonna build a new building.
What is
Well, no, I'm just
it?
saying anybody
For the
who wants, like, I
Well,
would
that's
like,
exactly what we're gonna be talking about at the next planning
We
commission.
were so.
Yeah, it's exactly on the agenda.
So Okay.
talk about.
I would like it not to be 50 feet, to be honest with you, because I got no more property.
Well, and we also, before we pass an ordinance, we'll be having a public hearing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Have a good night,
Yeah.
guys.